So in this video, I want to show you how you can use Claude Cowork to help you create different handouts. So I have a couple examples. Right here is a classic home exercise program, a handout that's generated. You'll notice it has my company's logo as well as branding. Here I have more of like a, here's the diagnosis, here's what it means, handout that you might provide. And there's a couple other patient education handouts, such as a precaution handout for maybe post-surgical. This one's a little smaller, might be like a little card that you just have for acute post-op patients. And then this one's more of like your typical roadmap that you would see for especially post-surgical, kind of describing it. And you'll notice for each of these, one, they all look much better than what I could do if I was in Word by myself. And they also have my branding, my colors, all of that naturally built in without me having to go and play around with it. So I want to show you today how you can do something similar, create this inside of Claude Cowork. I tried so hard to make it a skill where anyone could kind of just use the skill that I created, but I came to the conclusion that it just wouldn't work that well because some people have their exercise images in Google Drive. Other people might use Canva versus creating a PDF. So there's just so many different varieties. So instead, what I'm going to do is provide different prompts that I have created that you can use to create these skills yourself. It's pretty simple. You just kind of start with prompt one. I give you exactly where you need to fill in information. So you kind of fill that information in and then you send it over, which I will show you here in a second. All right, so let's hop into it. And so you can use like a connection with Canva to create some documents, or you can use Claude to help you create either PDFs or Word templates. So Word templates are nice, right? Because you can easily edit items. PDFs tends to use HTML, which is kind of how web pages are designed. So it'll kind of give you a preview of what it's going to look like, and then just turn that preview into a PDF once it's done. The benefit of that is it looks much nicer than your typical Word doc. The con is you can't just easily go in there and change the words because it's a PDF. So you kind of have to cue Claude again and say, hey, make it say this instead, which can be somewhat annoying. But I think if you train this skill more and more, then that happens less and less as you go along. And just to give you an example, what you're looking at right now, this slide deck is an HTML created by Claude. And so just to give you an idea of what some of the designs can look like. So I would recommend, unless you're just one of those people that wants to write all the time, probably go in the PDF route, as it just looks a lot nicer. It might be for certain handouts you go the PDF route so it's all pretty consistent. Maybe if you have something like a home exercise program that's going to be changing a lot per patient, then you go the Word doc route. Before we head in and I actually show you how to use it, I do want to mention this doesn't just have to be used for patient handouts. You can use it for operating procedures, new hire onboarding, all of that, even the slide deck like I used it for right here. If you were to do in-service educational things, creating a slide deck like this might be helpful. So the possibilities are endless, and I think that's why giving you the prompts where you can just go and create, you're like, now I want to create an educational slide deck. Well, you can run through those prompts again and kind of create a specific skill that makes it look exactly how you want, is much more beneficial. So let's dive into how this works. Basically, I have here a Google Doc that I'll share. It'll be in the community. And the way it works is you'll have profile, which will contain like your company's logos, the colors, phone number, all that sort of stuff. And then you have a content doc if you want. So here's an example one that I created. I'm storing my content doc in Google Drive. You could store it wherever you want. You could have it saved on your computer, or if you use Notion or some other service like that, you could store it there. And basically, I just have for every diagnosis what to expect. I just write out any notes that I have. So I have it here for ACL, hamstring. I kind of have some notes here. runner's knee, all that sort of stuff. And you can label it and write really whatever you want. It's more so just a resource for the AI to first look at when it's going to create the handout. And that way it's kind of trained off of your information versus it just generating it. And then you will also have the skill, which is what we're going to create. So in Claude, skills, if you come over here and see skills, it allows you to run specific kind of workflows. So you will create a skill for each individual handout that you want to create, because every handout's going to be a little different, right? So you might have a skill for creating home exercise programs. I have a skill for educational content, all of that sort of stuff. So the first thing you need to do is get Claude installed and all that. I have past videos going over that. Then you have your first prompt, and all you're going to do is just in this green box, you're going to copy all this information and paste it into Claude. I have this section here, which are kind of the parts that you're going to fill in. So you'll put in the clinic name, the handouts, all that sort of stuff. So if we look at my actual setup, we can see here that I pasted this in and then put my clinic name in, put my phone number. For the logo, I just hit this little plus icon and I actually added the logo. I had a folder for exercises, so I linked that. And then it asked about content doc. I just gave it the Google Doc link. And then one of the skills, or one of the connectors, sorry, that I have available is this Google Drive one. So I've gone and I've connected it so it has access to the particular folder that I need it to. And then I'll ask you how you want to talk to patients, words you don't want to use. So I told it to avoid M dashes, which are the little dashes that AI tends to use all the time. And then I just hit enter and it kind of goes through, it'll run through all these different commands, checks all the folders in there. And then after it has done that, it will create the clinic folder with the handout subfolder. So we scroll down all the way. We'll see here that it created this clinic profile for my kind of mock clinic. You could obviously, after it's created it, go through, make sure everything looks good. If it doesn't, then you can just tell it to edit it and it will go and make those changes. So that is the first prompt. You do that first to get your profile set up. And then for any new handout you want to create, you'll run the second prompt. And this is the PDF version. I will add the Word doc version on here too. So you can choose if you want to do the PDF route, then you'll copy this. If you want to do the Word doc, you'll copy the other one. The same thing, it's got blanks up here. You just kind of basically say, here's the handout type. And then I've even provided like common layouts, so exercise programs or visit instructions. So you can copy those, and then when it says like, is there a specific layout card, you can just paste that in. So if we go back to this, I did that same thing. I do a post-op handout. It creates the skill. It asked me if I wanted to save skill. I hit save. And then what that allows me to do is next time I'm coming in and having a chat, all I need to do is either mention the skill directly, which is what I like to do. I just will go here. Here's my demo handout skill. I click on it, and then I provide a little instruction as to what I want to do and hit go. And it will go through and actually look at all those different files and create this document. Actually, I'm gonna leave it running because it should be relatively quick. Now you would use this same thing here for any other handouts that you would want to build as well. So we can see here that it's actually going into Google Drive and reading the item that I put. And then it'll look for the logo and start to, so some of these things, for example, the exercises is in the downloads folder. So it's basically just saying, can I look at these exercises? So I'll hit allow. And then one thing I was going to mention for Once you have a handout pretty well refined and like you have all the data you need, I recommend using Haiku. I could have probably turned off extended, or that way it produces the handout quicker. When you are going to actually create the skills though, the first two prompts that I gave you, I would probably either use Opus or Sonnet. It'll take longer, but since you're creating the template, it's worth the extra time investment.
And then it will kind of give you better results.
All right. One thing I could have done looking back at this is I should have probably said like create an educational handout versus create a handout that's kind of generic. So I wouldn't be surprised if it throws some exercises in here. But we can actually see here is what it created. So it is my branding, right? It's got the green, the do's and don'ts. So it combined all of them. It kind of tells them where they're at. So they're in the week 2 to 6. And then it gave some exercises based off of the exercise folder that I had. And then it ends right here. It probably would have been much quicker had I told it just to make an educational one, because then it would have needed to find the different images. But I created this whole handout in 2 minutes, which is way faster than I can do. And then once that's done, it'll give it to you in an HTML, so you could download the HTML. Sometimes I've noticed it'll put it in like a new tab like this. So if that's the case, you just hit print and then you could print it this way. Or you just say generate it as PDF. And then it'll go and basically do the exact same thing. But it's nice that it makes it in HTML because you can preview it. So if you said, hey, save this instead, it would go and make these changes in real time where you can test it out. All right, so now it has generated the handout, and I wanted to show something because this is going to naturally happen as you're going to build these out. You'll see here it took like a minute to generate the PDF. That's because it tried to do something once and then it kind of failed, and then it had to use a different route, which is this PDF using Python. So all you need to do in that particular case, if you want to speed up the process, like I would say update skill to use the PDF generation method, that worked. And then it would go and update the skill. So it gets smarter and smarter as it's going along. And again, if you say added more conditions and stuff in this Google Doc or whatever you choose to use, it will continue to add that also. So when you go to create a new handout, it has that information, which is always super nice. So I will put all of these prompts, and I'll get that Word doc prompt as well, in the school community in this free skills section so that you can download it. And the whole doc should walk you through it. You kind of just copy and paste and you put in your info. So test it out. Let me know what you think. If you notice anything that needs to be improved, let me know, and I can always modify this document and go from there. All right, thanks.